Blade!
The film Blade has a dedicated fanbase. The main protagonist gained great popularity. However, another important character that caught Marvel's attention and was later incorporated by Marvel into their universe was Abraham Whistler, the unsung hero behind Blade's success. Fueled by his vendetta, rooted in his personal loss against the vampires, Abraham Whistler dedicated his life to vampire hunting. He mentored and trained Blade, transforming him into a deadly machine that solely aimed to eradicate the vampire community from the face of the earth. So what motivated Whistler to take up this dangerous mission? How to train and mentor Blade? And what were his powers? To find these answers, we have come with an in-depth explanation in this video. Before we begin, please take a moment and click the like and subscribe buttons. The small act means a lot to us as we will keep bringing you such amazing content. So let's dive into the world of Abraham Whistler. Who is Abraham Whistler? Known as Old Man and Poppy, Whistler stepped into the role of Blade's mentor when the latter was still a young boy. The peace of Whistler's once happy world was shattered the night a vampire landed at his doorstep. That night, he lost his beloved wife and daughters to the hunger of the night creature, marking the beginning of his journey as a vampire hunter. His partnership with Blade began on a rough note. Whistler initially suggested that Eric, later known as Blade, join his father's Daywalker project, but Eric refused, and in the ensuing confrontation, broke Whistler's leg before running away. Whistler later found Eric in a street gang called the Bad Bloods. After an intense fight, Whistler finally took Eric under his wing, training him in combat and providing him with the weapons and resources that would prove invaluable in his vampire hunting mission. Jensen, a hematologist, invented a cure for victims of vampirism. When Frost attacked their base, Whistler put up a great fight, yet Karen was taken away and he was left half dead. Mortally wounded, Whistler asked Blade to kill him before he turned, but Blade couldn't bring himself to do it. Sensing hesitation, Whistler took Blade's gun and shot himself, but by then, the transformation had already begun. He survived. Later kidnapped by a group of vampires who tortured him for 2 excruciating years. Blade eventually rescued him and used the cure Karen Jensen had developed, restoring Whistler to his human form. Despite deep distrust of Blade's new assistant Scud and his reluctance to work with the Blood Pack in their mission to kill Jared Nomak, Whistler had no choice but to comply for Blade's sake. Even under difficult circumstances, he managed to capture a Reaper for the group to study. In Dagino's palace, he freed Blade and killed Carl Cronin, ultimately proving his worth. When Scud betrayed Blade, Whistler took him out, reaffirming his position as Blade's mentor and trusted ally. His partnership with Blade faced another challenge when he chose to collaborate with the Night Stalkers to gain access to advanced weapons and technology. Blade, who preferred working alone, found himself ensnared in a trap set by Danica Talos and mistakenly killed a human. Just as Whistler feared, the FBI raided their base with a SWAT team. In a final act of loyalty, Whistler activated a self-destruct system, erasing all their data while fending off the SWAT team. As immortal once again, he sustained fatal injuries during the battle. Even in his last moments, he ensured Blade's safety by deleting the remaining files and chose to meet his end in the explosion that destroyed the base. What is Whistler's personality like? Abraham Whistler was assertive and straightforward, never shying away from voicing his opinions. Though he had a cynical sense of humor, his sensitive side surfaced at the right moments. He shared a unique, fatherly bond with Blade, though neither was ever willing to openly admit it. His unwavering loyalty to Blade remained a defining trait throughout his life. Whistler had little patience for pretense, as seen in his skepticism towards deceitful personalities. He valued actions over words, believing that true intent was revealed through deeds. Resilience was one of his great virtues, despite his tragic past, the loss of his family, and years of brutal torture at the hands of vampires. He never let his hatred consume him entirely. He was willing to set aside his personal vendetta when the need arose, even assisting vampires in combating the Reaper threat. What are Abraham Whistler's skills and abilities? A master of modern and technologically advanced weaponry, Abraham Whistler possessed extensive knowledge of biology and biochemistry. He studied vampire physiology in depth and familiarized himself with the vampire nation's language and society, allowing him to develop better strategies for their eradication. The frequent relocation of their bases, each well-equipped and expensive, suggests that Whistler had financial backing and resources to support their mission. Before being restored to his human form by Karen's cure, Whistler possessed supernatural abilities as a vampire, including enhanced speed, agility, strength, and heightened senses. His fangs were his most lethal weapon, and his accelerated healing abilities made him nearly immune to physical injuries. Beyond his physical prowess, Whistler's exceptional hand-to-hand combat skills played a crucial role in training Blade for his vampire hunting mission. His scientific genius was evident when he developed a weapon to eliminate the Reapers, a powerful solar bulb. As a master engineer, he designed and built advanced gadgets and weapons to aid their cause, solidifying his reputation as an expert hunter. Who were Whistler's closest allies and enemies? Though Whistler lost his wife and daughters in a vampire attack, he had an illegitimate daughter, Abigail Whistler, a leader of the Night Stalkers, a vampire hunting group. After Whistler's death, Abigail became Blade's companion. The most significant relationship in Whistler's life, however, was with Eric Brooks, aka Blade, whom he regarded as both a disciple and a surrogate son. Blade, in turn, considered Whistler as family. Despite Blade's initial reluctance, Whistler also allied with the Night Stalkers, who were developing the Daystar virus to eliminate Drake and eradicate the vampire race. Another key figure in Whistler's life was Karen Jensen, a hematologist who was saved by Blade after being bitten by a vampire. Initially, Whistler was displeased with Blade's decision to bring her to their base, but over time, he grew to accept her. It was Karen's cure that ultimately saved Whistler's life and restored his humanity.
Brooks.
How did Whistler's injury affect his life? Whistler's permanent leg injury, inflicted when Blade lost control of his bloodlust, had a profound impact on his life. Seen limping and reliant on a cane throughout the years, he adapted to his physical limitations by developing a suitable combat style. The injury forced him to rely more on technology, weapons, and strategic planning rather than direct physical confrontation. His restricted mobility made him vulnerable in dangerous situations, often requiring Blade to protect him. The constant pain also prevented him from running, further limiting his ability to engage in combat as he once did. Abraham Whistler in other media. The Blade films provide little backstory on Abraham Whistler aside from the details of his lost family and his close relationship with Blade. In the first Blade film, he is introduced as a gruff but highly skilled mentor. After Blade brings Karen Jensen to their base, Whistler is seen briefing her on their mission before ultimately shooting himself after being bitten by vampires. In Blade 2, after being restored to human form, Whistler and Blade are summoned by the vampire leaders of the Shadow Council to deal with the Reaper threat. While Whistler plays a smaller role in Blade Trinity, his final act of sacrifice is pivotal. He activates the self-destruct code and dies in the explosion along with the FBI agents to protect Blade. Whistler also appears in Spider-Man the Animated Series. Interestingly, his character was originally created for this series before being incorporated into the Blade trilogy. His portrayal in the animated series differs significantly from the films. He is depicted as younger, in better physical condition, and sporting short hair. Additionally, Whistler appears in the live-action TV series Blade, which explores his mentorship of Blade and how their partnership began. Marvelous verdict. Abraham Whistler plays a crucial role in shaping Blade's character and actions. His gruff demeanor, technical expertise, and vast knowledge of vampires serves as a foundation for the storyline. In a world dominated by supernatural beings and vampire lore, Whistler brings a human element to the narrative. His tragic past, his unwavering care for Blade, his physical limitations, and ultimately, his self-sacrifice add depth and emotional weight to the story. That's all for this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a comment with your thoughts. Let's talk all things Blade.